Hello and welcome to A Better Morning. I'm Heather Klein. We debate the trending topics in sports from a sports betting point of view. Let's welcome today's panel. The fantasy executive, Corey Parson. Lead NFL analyst of Fantasy Alarm, and Andrew Cooper. Head of content of Fantasy Alarm and award-winning host on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio, Howard Bender. And last but not least, host of Her Story in the Making and co-host of Lightning Round, Britt Flynn. Welcome, everybody.
Morning, gang.
How's everyone doing?
What's up, everybody? Let's get it.
This is Monday, baby. I'm feeling froggy today. Let's go.
Oh, yeah.
All right, guys, let's get to it. News came out that Yankees superstar Aaron Judge tore a ligament in his toe after crashing into a wall on June 4th. As of now, there is no timetable for his return to the field. The Bronx Bombers are 4-9 without Judge. They are currently a -195 to make the playoffs. Would you take that bet knowing we may not see the four-time All-Star anytime soon? Howard, you're up first.
Am I taking this bet? Well, I don't even understand why we're talking about this bet. Yeah, I get it. Yankee haters, they're everywhere. We all get it. All right, Judge is out for a while, and the lineup stinks without Judge in it. But you know what? This lineup stinks with Judge in it. Jake Bowers, Billy McKinney, and what the hell is Josh Donaldson still doing there? All right, yay, we're getting Carlos Rodon back. But listen, this team has a ton of holes in it. And actually, I just saw it on DK at -225 to make the playoffs. But you know what? Hey, let's keep talking about them because they're the top organization in the top media market. But why not focus on how about the Mets being sellers at the deadline with Verlander and Scherzer in the rotation? Or how about an exciting Orioles team adding Jordan Westberg to the mix? Like, haters are going to hate, but is that really worth our discussion here? I don't necessarily think so.
Well, we're not going to discuss the Mets and the Baltimore Orioles because why would anybody ever do that? Now, one thing we can discuss about Major League Baseball is, as Howard mentioned, the most recognizable brand in all of professional sports, the New York Yankees. And that goes without saying. There really isn't any debate on that. Now, with that being said, -195 to make the playoffs, yeah, that's a bet that everybody should take if you want to lay -195, almost -$2 on a wager. But the truth of the matter is this is a team that hasn't won a championship since 2009. Let's be serious right now. The Yankees were not a team that's built to go to the ALCS every year. This is a team that should be winning championships, not falling short to cheaters like the Houston Astros. Something is wrong in the Bronx.
Yeah, and what's wrong is that Aaron Judge also missed time in April and May. I mean, we kind of think now in June, yeah, they went 4-9 without him, but they're 11-16 with him throughout the year. They're teetering on falling out of the playoff race. They're in fifth, and they've only got a 2.5 game buffer there. But what's good for the Yankees is that their upcoming schedule is butter soft. They've got a series against the A's, the Cardinals, the Cubs, teams that are a combined 89 and 144. The only team that they play with a winning record before the All-Star break is the Orioles. So they should be able to hold on to their lead, and they should be able to come back and make it work. I think that I'm willing to lay down a little bit of money for them to make the playoffs in a stinky AL.
Hold on to their lead. I mean, this team is barely above 500. We're looking at, if this was a first place team that just had to keep things afloat while they miss their literal MVP caliber player that's out, then I might consider taking a bet at -200 or whatever it is. But as Howard said, this team is not a Carlos Rodon away. Josh Donaldson looking like a big waste of moolah. If you're taking this bet, you're betting on Aaron Judge to actually come back and play in August. Without Aaron Judge, this team is nothing. And I don't know about you guys, I'm not a toe doctor, but when I see these torn ligaments in the toes and stuff, all I think is Michael Thomas missing an entire season of NFL football last year. So if Aaron Judge doesn't come back, this team is toast. And as Howard said, that might be toast even if he does. I'm out.
Yeah, I don't even know if Aaron Judge comes back, whether or not this team is a lock. It's all going to come down to what Brian Cashman does come the trade deadline. I mean, Britt's definitely right that there is a softer schedule coming up. And listen, the AL, the AL Central is a joke. It's whoever's coming out of the who's winning that division is coming out of the playoffs. I mean, there are a couple of feisty teams that might come out, eke something out in the West. But overall, I mean, listen, this Yankees team, it's not good right now. It's really not good. Josh Donaldson is a complete joke. There should not be anything there. The problem is that the Yankees just can't rebuild. You're not an organization that's going to rebuild because the public apparently won't take it. But the bottom line is that you have to wait and see what Cash does at the deadline. He's going to grab something in there. You're going to have Garrett Cole and hopefully a healthier Luis Severino, a healthier Carlos Rodon. You're going to have some pitching horses that are going to be able to, compete. So to make the playoffs, sure. To do anything beyond that, I mean, again, I don't care. I'd rather talk about the Cincinnati Reds or the Baltimore Orioles, teams that are actually exciting to watch right now, bringing up their youth. That's what I want in baseball.
The Yankees can't rebuild ever because they've made a deal with the devil. This league is set up where it's not fair, and it's not fair in their favor. They get all the money. They have, more money to spend than anyone else. They sell a Yankees hat to every tourist that gets a slice of pizza in New York. Like, this team should always be buying. Right? Like, so at the deadline, if you're a Yankees fan, every single year you should say, hey, we're the New York Yankees. We should be buying. So
yes, but you got to be realistic about it. Yes, we should be buying. Yes, we should be competing every year. But I mean, listen, the days of yammering on about the Yankees payroll and how much money, I'm sorry that George Steinbrenner had the foresight to start his own TV organization to give a big FU to the networks. Like that's why he was an owner who was able to take the money that he was getting from revenue and putting it onto the field. You don't have other teams doing that.
And you don't have the New York Yankees doing that no more. That's because this young Steinbrenner, this ain't the real boss. This ain't the original boss. This is the guy that moved the team across the street to a decrepit stadium and paid $5 billion for it. The way that old house rocked, that's where this team should be at. You think it's good enough to go to the ALCS and lose to Houston year after year, and then you get on TV and say you don't know why the fans are mad? Because they ain't won nothing since 2009. This not the team across town in Queens. This is why the fans is mad. Win a championship. I wish the old boss was still here.
I wish the old boss was still here too. It definitely would make things a lot more feisty. I'm 100% with you on that, Corey. This is not the organization that I grew up with. And that's fact. That's bottom line. That's penny pinchers and bean counters who are sitting there saying that we can't afford to spend that kind of money. That's garbage. We can definitely afford to spend that kind of money. Hal Steinbrenner just doesn't want to do it right now. And that's why we haven't won since 2009. We've made some bad choices. We've given out some bad contracts. And that's a natural cycle. Look at the Yankees throughout the entire 1980s when George was there, handing out contracts to every top free agent who was out there, thinking that you can throw money at it. I think that one of the things that we've learned about sports right now is that no matter how much money you throw at a problem, it does not guarantee a championship.
All right, guys. League sources expect. That was great. That was very impressive. League sources expect Draymond Green to return to the Warriors. Green opted out of his $27.6 million player option and would become an unrestricted free agent June 30th. According to sources, he's projected to sign a 3-year deal with the addition of Chris Paul and the potential return of Draymond Green. Does this add to the hype for the Bay Area team to win another championship? Corey, you are up first.
Yeah, I think it comes back to what Steve Kerr said after this season was over, that they're not a championship team without Draymond Green. So at that point, you realize you had to run it back. Now, Chris Paul will not make the Golden State Warriors opening day roster. They will trade him before the season starts. So this is a temporary landing spot for him. But listen, they chose their championship culture, and Draymond Green is a big part of that. They got the culture back. Steph Curry, Klay Thompson. Klay's going to be up for an extension after next season. So listen, as long as they got this core group and Steph Curry still playing at the height of his career, they're always going to be a threat to be world champions. What I worry about is what happens in the future. As these players get older, you've traded away from your youth and you've kind of sunk some of your young players as well. But as far as they're currently constructed, they could easily be in the Western Conference Finals next year.
as these players get older, Corey, these players are already old. I mean, we talked about it on Friday. They keep giving these big contracts to these aging players. I mean, Chris Paul is pretty much over the hill. He didn't play in most of the Suns Nuggets series. I mean, I don't think that he's going to play, even if they don't trade him. He's going to be hurt half the year. I don't understand why bringing Draymond Green back would increase the hype, because now you've traded away one of your biggest offensive weapons, and defense does not win championships in the NBA like it used to. I mean, we kind of saw it in the Western Conference Finals with the Lakers. The Lakers had one of the best defenses in the entire playoffs, and the Nuggets ran all over them, because offense is what ultimately wins in the NBA. They don't have any good offensive pieces anymore. And I think that they're going to end up worse than they did this year. I would much rather lay some money down on Denver or Boston at plus 475 than on the Warriors at plus 1,300.
Yeah, you had me through all that up until the Boston part. Like, even as a Boston fan, I don't get why they would be plus 475. Why they would have the same odds as the best team in basketball, who just won, who has the best player in basketball. Like, I couldn't possibly bet on the Celtics if they have the same odds as the Nuggets. I'd rather just lay my money on the Nuggets. And with this question, the key word, as Britt pointed out, is hype. Why would we have increased hype about the same team we've seen, except it's slightly worse because they had to get rid of Jordan Poole because Draymond Green's an asshole? Like, it's the same team except slightly worse. So for me, I'm sticking with the Nuggets plus 475, easy 5-1 odds. Give me that. I'm going in on that before I start betting on this team except older and worse.
This team older and worse. I mean, we'll see what the pieces are. I think Corey's right. Chris Paul's not going to be here come, the opening night of the NBA. I think that the fact of the matter is, if you want to talk about hype, I mean, really, you've got to focus in on what the Bay Area fan base is all about. And this Bay Area fan base, they don't care. If you won a championship 10 years ago, the Bay Area fans still want to give you a 6-year deal. It doesn't matter how old you are. If you won a championship for them in the past, they're going to pay you and they're going to hype you. We've seen that, with the Giants. We see that here with we saw it with the Sharks like 10 years ago, and now we're seeing it here with the Golden State Warriors. This fan base doesn't care about anything but winning, and they will favor those players who have done it for them. Anything in the future, who cares?
Yeah, the Chris Paul thing is very interesting because basically the Warriors don't have no need for Chris Paul. Their need was to get Jordan Poole off the team. And that probably came directly from Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green. Basically, what Golden State is telling you, with Jordan Poole, what happened to Jordan Poole earlier to start the year, he was asking for it, and he deserved it. They're basically saying that Draymond Green was right in what he did to Jordan Poole because there was no other way to make that move and go get the 38-year-old Chris Paul. You had to get him off the team in order to bring Draymond back, in order to keep their championship core healthy. Happy. So there it is right there. They're basically saying Jordan Poole got what he was asking for.
Right. But here's the thing about that. They can say that, but sometimes they're wrong. Like, sometimes it's the boys club and they want it their way. And what happens is they end up not being enough. And you look back and you say, why did we do this? I mean, it happens all the time.
They won 4 chips together. That's why, Coop.
Yeah,
so
exactly. Sorry, Coop, but you know what? If you came over to the Fantasy Alarm Show on Sirius XM and you were like, Bender, you're too old to be doing this right now after I won an award for this show, I'd punch you in the mouth, buddy. I'd knock you out.
And then I'd go to the other network and we'd win the awards. How about that?
Would you though? Because you showed me how many championship trophies and MVPs Jordan Poole's going to get with wherever he lands.
He's a young player. He's got a lot of time, Howard.
Send him to those Boston suckballs. Go ahead. You can have them.
But this is why coaches really need to control their locker room and know what is best for their team. Because, yeah, these guys might have their boys club and they might like who they like, but that is not what's going to get the job done. And it's the coaching staff and the front office's job to make sure that this team performs as best as it can. And it's not going to perform that well with these older guys coming in.
How can we call it a boys club when they're all boys? Everybody's a boy in the NBA.
And that's why the general manager. And that's why the general manager Bob Myers left. Britt, that's exactly. Right. I guarantee you, that's why he left, because he didn't want to build the team this way.
Steve Kerr is one of the bros.
Definitely.
core bros sitting there in the,
That's
the
right.
Bay
dude.
Area.
All right, guys. Futures odds have the following teams with the worst record this upcoming NFL season. Cardinals at plus 320, followed by the Raiders, Texans, Buccaneers, and lastly, the Commanders at plus 1100. Do you agree with this prediction on the worst losses in the 2023 season? Or is there a team you would add to the top 5? Britt, you are up first.
So I'm really surprised that the Panthers are projected for 7.5 wins. I mean, I get it. You've got Bryce Young coming in. There's a ton of hype surrounding this team, but I have them down for at least 11 losses. And that's not even counting who they're going to kind of battle with in the NFC South. I mean, the Bryce Young won a national championship, but the NFL is a different animal. He's small. He doesn't really have a group of a supporting cast around him. And that defense still isn't good enough to get the offense out of bad situations and make up for their offensive mistakes. I think the Cardinals will probably have the worst record, but I would definitely lay some money down on the Panthers to be in the top 5 in losses.
Yeah, we're talking about a bottom 5 here when the bet really is who's going to be dead last. And to me, there's a bottom 1. Jared has it right in the chat. The Cardinals are going to be bad, and that is by design. They're doing this on purpose. They looked at what the Rams did and what the Dolphins did and what the Lions did, and they said, we're doing the bridge year. We're doing the gap year. That's why J.J. Watt said, smell you later, the day that Jonathan Gannon showed up. And that's why they cut DeAndre Hopkins. They're cutting literal Hall of Fame players here because they want to lose. They're going to have Kyler Murray and Zach Ertz on the sideline to start the year. They could have brought in a quarterback. They could have brought in Jacoby Brissett, who's very familiar with the GM, and they didn't because they want to lose. So we're going to watch Colt McCoy and Clayton Tune throw pick sixes for the majority of the season, and this team is going to finish in dead last.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it that the Cardinals are the dead last team to finish here. But if we're talking about anybody who can squeeze into this bottom 5, I don't know why we're all in love with the Packers still. I'm sorry, but you know what? LaFleur has not proven to me or anybody else that he is he can coach this team towards winning games. You know what? When you've got Aaron Rodgers sitting there as your quarterback, and whether you're fighting with Rodgers or you're not fighting with Rodgers, he's still the guy who's like leading the charge on the field. He's changing plays at the line of scrimmage. We've seen it over and over again. Without Rodgers, what does this team have? I don't know if Jordan Love is the rudder that can do it. I don't know if this tandem in the backfield can do it. I don't even know if this offensive line can handle the workload anymore. I think that this Packers team is going to be surprisingly bad in a better NFC North.
You know, I would look at the list that we were given and say that the Raiders will be a good team this year. I would also say that the Washington Commanders will be a good team this year. I think the Texans will be improved, but I do agree that the Cardinals will be bad. But you know another team that was getting rid of assets this past offseason? The Minnesota Vikings. They got rid of Adam Thielen. They got rid of Cook. Now, mind you, their quarterback is basically a lame duck on a 1-year contract. They won 13 games last year, fantasy exec. Yeah, they did, but they won 13 of those games by like 3 points or less. So here's the deal. The Minnesota Vikings are in a race to the bottom, but Packers will be a playoff team. And Britt just showed her SEC bias. The Carolina Panthers are undoubtedly the best team in the NFC South. Bryce Young, who you just called small, the best quarterback in this draft, the best player in this draft, and will be the rookie of the year. Carolina Panthers, Green Bay Packers, both playoff teams this season.
Corey, I got to side with Howard on the Packers, man. That one, here's the thing with that is when you look at Patrick Mahomes and you look at Jalen Hurts, all this smoke was coming out about how they love him, about how he's awesome, about how he should be the starter, and then he became the starter. With Jordan Love, we're getting none of that. We're getting the opposite. They're trying to let us down easy. They're taking that hot seat he's on and pouring cold water all over it, saying things like, you know, he's going to take some time and, you know, this team is young. They're starting rookies at tight end. They're starting a rookie, at least one rookie at wide receiver. That team is going to be rough, my boy. That's a tough situation.
I disagree there.
The thing about the Packers that I kind of do agree with Corey on here is that the defense in the NFC North, all 3 teams are absolutely atrocious. The Vikings, I think, rank 30th. Then you got the Bears. Then you got the Lions, who, although they improved, they're still in the bottom 10 in defense. I mean, the Packers are going to be able to score some points. They may have to run the ball into next century and run Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon into the ground, but they're going to move the ball and they're going to score some points. So I wouldn't be surprised if they made the playoffs at all.
Yeah, well, some team from that division has to make the playoffs, but no team from that division is winning the Super Bowl this year.
No, definitely not. And I like Corey's point about the fact that the Vikings are a team on the decline. I know that they won 13 games last year. It has nothing to do with how many games they won. It's whether or not they improved that defense like they should have. I mean, I know that they made a couple of moves here and there, but the offense pretty much stays the same. Subbing in Madison for Dalvin Cook is irrelevant to me because of the way they changed the blocking scheme, and it sort of favors Madison's style of play. Anyway, they've got Cousins who can get the ball to his receivers, and Jordan Addison will be perfectly fine replacing an aging out Adam Thielen. But yeah, I do agree that this team is definitely on the decline. I just don't think that the Packers, with any changes that they've made, can even compete. Like, I don't think the Packers can score enough points to withstand an assault by the Vikings.
Yeah, Howard.
Britt, what's up? You're not gonna. What's up, Bryce Young, MVP Rookie of the Year? You know what I'm saying, Britt? You want some side action on that?
Oh, fight!
I could take that. Let's talk about it after the show.
No!
Come on.
Loser shaves their head.
Loser leaves town.
Oh no,
Mine is already shaved.
Oh no. This is precious. This is insured, guys.
Lloyd's of London.
Do what?
Rapunzel.
I said you got the Lloyd's of London insurance on it.
Yes, exactly. Like how they had that rumor that Taylor Swift insured her legs. This same thing. But yeah, I think that the Packers could do something. I think that the Vikings could do something. And we saw last year that Jair Alexander shut down Justin Jefferson. I mean, he had one of his worst games of the year against the Packers, so I can't count them out there. Sorry, Howard. It's just on the stat line.
All right, let's continue in the NFL with the last topic. The 2023 NFL season kicks off in 73 days. I know we all can't wait till Thursday night football. Which team offenses are you expecting to rebound from their shortcomings in 2022? Coop, you're up first.
Yeah, so far on the show, I've bashed my Red Sox, I've bashed my Celtics, so I'm going to bring it back home with a positive New England take. I think that the Patriots offense can turn things around, bringing Bill O'Brien back to town. I mean, he was part of the 2007 and 2011 offenses, which were some of the best in history. And the one thing I like what they're doing is they looked around this division at what the other teams have, right? They looked at Sauce Gardner and a guy like Trey White. Sauce Gardner only played 9 snaps in the slot all of last year. So what do the Patriots do? They go out and get Juju. They go out and get Mike Gesicki, and they dare him to come in the slot and cover him. They've got Ramondre Stevenson. They've got a good line. And Mac Jones, as a rookie, I mean, second most accurate passing season ever behind only Dak Prescott. So if he could bounce it right back, this team could see a big improvement.
Yeah, I've got Patriots toilet paper at home that I'm just using to wipe excessively here. If I'm going to pick a team, I'll tell you what. Speaking of toilet paper, how about the Browns? I know. Listen, I hate the city of Cleveland. I will always hate the city of Cleveland. And Cleveland, you know why we hate each other, and that's just it. But the Browns this year, they are not a 7-win team. They are definitely a team that's on the rise. I think Deshaun Watson, now that he's back, and yes, you can have your rub and tug jokes and all the other nonsense that you want to talk about here. We're talking about what happens on the field. And I think now, with a full camp behind him, with everything behind him right now, Deshaun Watson comes out on top. He's got the weaponry. He's got guys like Amari Cooper, David Njoku, Donovan Peoples-Jones. There's still a shot that they get DeAndre Hopkins. They've got the best running back in the NFL and Nick Chubb. Give me the Browns.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry, but it looks like I'm at Chavez Ravine, the way the shadows are coming in right now. With that being said, let's talk about the team that's going to have one of the better offenses in the NFL this year, and that's going to be the Indianapolis Colts. You already know what they went and did at head coach. Now, that aligns perfectly with what they have at quarterback and what they're going to be able to do. And then you still have Jonathan Taylor, who is, a season removed from being the best offensive player in the NFL. So, yes, I look for this Indianapolis Colt offense to rebound big time as I try to dodge the shadows. But defenders are going to have to try to catch a dodging Anthony Richardson and Jonathan Taylor. And don't forget Michael Pittman. And don't forget the turf in Indianapolis as well. Good times coming up for this Indianapolis Colt offense.
I'm just going to take the low-hanging fruit here and say that it's going to be the Denver Broncos. I can't believe nobody said the Denver Broncos. I mean, they were literally last in scoring efficiency last year, and now they brought in Sean Payton and Joe Lombardi. I mean, they drafted Marvin Mims. They have a lot of their receivers back. How can they not be better? But aside from that low-hanging fruit, I'm also going to go with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think that they did a lot in the offseason to improve their offensive line, so Kenny Pickett should have more time in the pocket to throw and not just be pressured every single time he steps back. And then I also like Najee Harris. I think that offensive line should clear some lanes for him, and they should be a lot more efficient and score more than 7 or 8 touchdowns this season. So give me the Steelers.
So I think we have our bet here, right? Corey Parson likes Anthony Richardson. Britt likes Bryce Young.
No, I like Bryce Young too. Britt gonna have to pick somebody else.
Oh, you got them both. You got them both. Yeah, who you got, Britt? Who you think is the rookie of the year then?
I haven't decided yet. I want to wait until training camp. It's too early.
Listen,
It's
you
too
know what?
early.
You'll take the
love
chalk and
call on
Bijan.
I love the call on the Steelers 100%, except for the fact that Matt Canada is one of the most unimaginative offensive coordinators in the game. And I think that's going to be problematic for the Steelers' development over and over again. I love the weaponry that's there. I just think that other coaches are just going to be able to outthink Matt Canada because he's got a very, very predictable offense right now. And if he doesn't learn how to mix it up a little bit more, I think Mike Tomlin's going to have to make a switch.
Look for the Pittsburgh Steelers to be back in the playoffs, too. I think the way that Kenny Pickett and his crew played down the stretch last year, you get Najee Harris, who I believe that foot was bothering him last year. You get him healthy. George Pickens. The Steelers are trending upwards, in my opinion.
I'll say this, dude. Kenny Pickett, I've never seen a quarterback get more praise while only throwing 7 touchdown passes. Like, I understand he did a good job managing games to a certain degree, but you can't throw a touchdown pass. 147 targets to Deontay Johnson. You can't find the end zone one time for Deontay Johnson. 0 touchdowns last year. It's all on Kenny Pickett because I agree the weapons are there, but you can't come out and throw 7 touchdown passes, bro. You look at it, what's his name? Walter Payton has more touchdown passes in his career than Kenny Pickett does.
Oh, come on. That's like, let's not make that
best
kind of
football player ever.
And again, one of the problems is that it's an unimaginative offense, and so that they do struggle inside the red zone. But I mean, we all know that touchdowns are fluky. We've seen that. You want to talk about the fantasy game, right? Deontay Johnson's value is now falling below George Pickens because he didn't catch any touchdown passes last year. So, I think we're in a good spot here for the Steelers. Again, I just think they just need a little bit more imagination on offense. I think the rest of the components are all there for them.
I'm in on the Deontay bounce back for sure.
And can we just acknowledge the fact that God is smiling and kissing Corey Parson right now with that Anthony Richardson Indianapolis Colts take? I might not agree with it, but apparently the man upstairs does.
Shining down.
All right, guys, that was today's edition of Better Morning. Have a great day and enjoy the rest of the programming today on BS.